We now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases.
A lot of people allowed it to go on, said nothing, didn't intervene, maybe benefited from it, profited from it. All of these individuals and entities, in my view.
Word on the street is that some of his big-name celebrity friends are dropping serious cash to hush up alleged victims and keep these lawsuits from blowing up. We're talking undercover payouts to cover up all the mess Diddy's caught in. So who's throwing their money in the mix? And how deep does this go? Looks like some of Diddy's celebrity friends are trying to keep things quiet by secretly settling with victims to avoid getting caught up in lawsuits. The now famous Texas attorney Tony Busby, who's repping 120 alleged victims of Diddy, told the whole world that he's been sending demand letters to some big-name celebs who might have known about Diddy's notorious parties. That's right, Diddy's trying to get them to settle things privately before it all goes public. Busby didn't hold back, and he basically said, if you were at one of Diddy's freak-off parties, knew what was going down, or even saw something shady and didn't speak up, you've got a problem. He's pretty clear that those folks should be held accountable, and he's ready to make that happen. He hinted that we might hear some famous names soon, but didn't give any specifics. He also pointed out that for these celebs, their only way to stay anonymous is by settling with the victims. Apparently, they've already reached deals with a few well-known people and plan to keep it going. But here's the catch. If these celebs don't agree to settle, their names will be exposed in public lawsuits. And this is all happening while Diddy's dealing with his own legal mess. As you can already tell, things have been heating up big time for Diddy. There's a ton of sexual assault lawsuits against him, and it looks like they might play a huge part in his future criminal case. Right now, the feds have hit Diddy with some serious charges like racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking by force. Basically, they're saying Diddy ran a criminal empire where he used his power, money, and even violence to force people around him to do his dirty work, including wild, drug-fueled, freaky parties, often with male sex workers. The feds are out here saying that since 2008, Diddy's been on a campaign of mistreating women, and that his crew was doing illegal stuff like kidnapping and bribery to get what they wanted. And I'm telling y'all this because these criminal charges and the lawsuits, they go hand in hand. A lot of the lawsuits have the same themes: sexual assault, violence, coercion. Pretty much Diddy using his influence to make people do whatever he wanted. Even though most of the lawsuits are from before the feds say his criminal activity started, they still might end up playing a role in his criminal case. Will these accusers testify against him? We'll see. First up, we gotta mention the lawsuit that set it all off, Cassie. You probably heard about this one already. Back in November 2023, she filed a lawsuit against Diddy saying he physically, sexually, and mentally did her dirty, even forcing her into a form of slavery. She said Diddy violated her, beat her up in a hotel hallway back in 2016, and blew up Kid Cudi's car because she started seeing him. She also said she was forced to set up those freaky parties with male sex workers while Diddy just watched. This lawsuit was settled the day after it was filed, but it kicked off a wave of more lawsuits against him. Cassie's lawsuit made others speak up too. Liza Gardner, for example, filed her lawsuit later in November 2023, claiming she was assaulted by Diddy back in 1990 when she was just 16. She said she and her friend met Diddy and Aaron Hall, went to Hall's apartment, and ended up being sexually assaulted by both of them. Then, a few days later, Diddy showed up at her place and choked her until she passed out. She sued for battery, assault, and emotional distress. And let's not forget the other women stepping forward, like Joy Dickerson-Neal. She claims Diddy drugged and raped her in 1991 and even secretly videotaped the whole thing. Years later, she found out that tape was being passed around. She says this whole experience wrecked her life and mental health.
I apologize to anyone this video may be embarrassing to. Let's just jump right into it. Some of you may know me or may not. I'm a music producer who's a writer and musician.
But it's not just women. There's also Lil Rod, who used to work with Diddy on his Love album. He's accusing Diddy of sexual assault, harassment, and even sex trafficking. Rod claims Diddy would grope him, force him to be around while he showered, and tried to groom him into homosexual sex. He also says Diddy has secret footage of all his parties and celebrity guests, and that some other celebs were involved in the abuse, like Cuba Gooding Jr. and Young Miami's associate. Diddy, of course, denies all the claims, saying they're just after his money. He called the accusations bogus and said he's ready to fight for his name and reputation. But as more lawsuits keep piling up, it's looking like this legal battle is far from over. We're keeping our eyes on how these lawsuits will play into his criminal case and who's going to end up testifying. After Lil Rod, only more and more started coming out and accusing Diddy of wrongdoings. But it's not just Diddy. It's his sons, too. Grace Omari, a yacht steward, accused Diddy's son, Christian, of SA during a hedonistic yacht trip in 2022. She details a drug-fueled environment involving celebrities and sex workers and describes how she was assaulted by Christian and retaliated against by the captain after reporting the incident. We also got Crystal McKinney, a former model, accuses Diddy of sexual assault in 2003. Claiming that he lured her with promises to advance her career, drugged her, and assaulted her. She says this event led to her career decline and severe emotional distress. McKinney is using a legal provision that revives old gender violence claims, and a judge is allowing her to amend her complaint after Diddy's legal team raised issues with it. April Lampros came out too. She accused Diddy of a coercive and abusive relationship that began in 1994. She alleges repeated SAs, including a videotaped encounter without her consent. She claims Diddy threatened her and tried to control her life. Diddy's legal team is attempting to dismiss the case on procedural grounds, and there's many, many more. In fact, by the time that Tony Busby finishes with all of his clients, who knows how many victims Diddy will have? The number might be in 4 digits at that point. But speaking of Diddy's celebrity friends who might be cashing out currently, let's see who we got on the list, who could potentially be paying off folks. First up, we can't forget about Jay-Z. These two have had their ups and downs, but they've also been known to have each other's backs in the wild world of hip-hop. With Jay being such a major player, it's not out of the question that he could swoop in to help his buddy Diddy if things got messy. Jay-Z has been under a lot of scrutiny lately, especially because of the fact that he's been keeping his mouth shut ever since Diddy's downfall started. It's like he's got no skin in the game whatsoever. It's like they weren't BFFs just a few years ago. Jay-Z's a snake, and everyone in the industry knows it. Think about how many people next to him either disappeared or had their careers completely thrashed. Then there's Usher. These guys have collaborated a bunch, and Usher knows all about keeping his image clean, especially after his own controversies. If Diddy needed a hand, Usher could be that friend who steps in behind the scenes to help him save face. Not to mention, Usher was in Puffy's flavor camp, and maybe he feels a certain type of way when it comes to Diddler, and offering a helping hand is something that surely crossed his mind at some point. And let's not overlook Meek Mill. He's all about justice reform, but you never know. He might feel like protecting a fellow artist is worth it, even if it means getting a little shady. You know how the industry can be, right? It is alleged and believed widely that Meek and Diddy had a little romance thing going on for a moment. Let's not forget that awful leaked audio of these two in the bedroom, how Diddy called Meek daddy, and also that matching outfit. Actions speak louder than words, you know. But we got more people on the list, and Rick Ross is one of them. They've had their share of jams together, and you can bet Rick wouldn't want to see his buddy go down. He's got a lot of connections, so who knows what kind of quiet support he might offer. Then there's Justin Bieber, who has been in Diddy's orbit too. He's dealt with his own fair share of legal troubles, so he might just see Diddy as someone to help out when the going gets tough. Gotta protect that brand, right? There's a lot of similarities between JB and Usher too, at least in relation to Diddy. This guy supposedly groomed both of them, so if Usher would be ready to help out, JB would be too. Although, lately, JB seems to be keeping to his own devices. He's focused on being a father, and he seems quite unfazed by all the drama that we see with Diddy. At the end of the day, these guys might be thinking about their own images and what's at stake for them if things go sideways. It's a crazy game out there, and when it comes to keeping secrets, you never know how far some of these celebs might go to protect each other. People want to see all the wrongdoers pay up for their backward ways. One person said, "They need to be exposed. No right making a plea deal and making them pay money to keep their names out of the public. Throw them in jail." But some think that these names will never be disclosed. It's just impossible, given the circumstances. We're never gonna know the names some of the celebrities already agreed to settlements silently to some of his clients. So are Diddy's celebrity friends really out here cutting checks to keep things quiet? The entertainment world is full of surprises, and you know how tight these connections can get. It'll be interesting to see how all of this unfolds. Drop your thoughts below. Who do you think is really in Diddy's corner? And what's next for him? And don't forget to check out our next video for more juicy gossip and behind-the-scenes drama.